Hello, welcome to the Three Orcs live stream on Sunday, September 28th, 2025. This is my weekly live stream that we do a refresh of everything that's been going on all week. I got an echo in my ear, sorry. But this is where we give an update of what I've accomplished all week in this Temple of Elemental Evil campaign project. And then I also like to go over what I plan to do in the future and answer any questions in this YouTube stream. So if you do have any questions in this YouTube stream, let's see if I can turn this down there. Tell me if you guys have trouble hearing me, but I had to turn down my headphones. And yeah, if you have any questions, ask them in the YouTube channel. We can answer them. Also, like to do every week with the live stream is have a guest on. Either the guest will be like another dungeon master that's running this campaign, and he can actually tell us what he's doing with this campaign. His unique twist is the rule set he's using, where they start in the campaign, where they're going, and where they're at, and sometimes they'll have questions of what to do with the campaign at different stages of during the discovery of what's really going on in the campaign, where they're at, what towns and cities and NPCs and quests they're on. So we'd like to talk about that too. Hey, Sarge, thank you for joining. He said it's all good. Good. I'm glad you guys can hear me. Hi, Kevin. Thank you for joining. And Steve, thank you for joining too. Well, so this week, as you all know, I finally finished the Village of Nulb. Now, the Dungeon Masters Guild module, Village of Nulb, took 3 months to rewrite and refocus its efforts on the activities directly with the leadership of the Temple of Elemental Evil and what they're doing in Nulb and all the relationships and the collaboration with other NPCs in the town. And that's what I focused on. And like Temple of Elemental Evil meets Game of Thrones, because they're actually collaborating with other NPCs from the Divers and Verbobonc, the Wild Coast, the Slavers, the Scarlet Brotherhood. And so it took me 300 hours to rewrite that. And I actually published it like 3 days ago on DM's Guild, and it's finally done. Now, you know, it did get me behind on this project. Anybody that's been following this project before this, I was just slamming this stuff out. I have 13 villages done, fully keyed, just like the village of Hamlet. The city of Verbobonc is done. And I'm trying to expand out to Divers and the Wild Coast and anywhere that the Dungeon Masters on our Discord is asking for. Any villages that need to be flushed out because their players have to be over there and they want it keyed. And different organizations and characters and NPCs and plots and quests and things like that. So this week I did do quite a bit since I was able to get away from Nulb, and I refocused on the clans of the Gnarly. Now, Halagant from Australia, he's a great writer, and he's written before for Living Greyhawk stuff. He wrote the initial articles for the 4 clans of the Gnarly. And I talked about this many times before in previous videos, how important this is, especially if you're a Dungeon Master running this campaign out to the Wild Coast or Divers. But because you're traveling through elf clan lands between Nulb, the Viscounty, the Wild Coast, and Divers. And so that means the players will be engaging them as they travel through, and they're part of the problem and the solution to the banditry on the rise on those merchant roads. Those bandits are preying on merchant caravans on those roads. Also, there's pirates preying on merchant ships along the Emridge Run and the Velvet Diver River. But that really doesn't have anything to do with the elf clans. So anyway, today I finished all the locations in the main article for the 4th clan, Sharadil. And the other 3 clans are completely done. But I'll probably finish up the last 4th clan by next couple of days. And that'd be great. So then from there, I need everybody to tell me where to go focus my efforts next. I got lots of choices. I could focus on making a module for the city of Verbobonc. I could make the 4 dungeons for the different temple outposts out there, like the Moat House, you know, fire, earth, water, and air. They have other outposts out there too. Finish the Noble Ambitions module quest line that I got permission for the original author from. It's half done. It's available for you guys to run it on the World Anvil website. So the last half, it includes the dungeon, which I made a map for a long time ago already. That part's done. I just need to, you know, write it for this campaign and put it up on the World Anvil website. Or I could make those 4 dungeons, you know, for the temple outpost, or I could do more villages that are needed that are in the area that we haven't hit yet. So that's what we've done. I want to do the quick review of what I did all week. So Kevin, I feel like the robot and Superman movie. Oh, he said hi to me. Hey, John D, thank you for joining again. You want me to do the other outposts. So that's gonna be more map making. Oh, maps take forever. I should do it. These outposts aren't going to be any bigger than the Mo House, so the map's not going to be overwhelming. It still needs to be done and interesting and keyed and a lot of narration and description and dialogue and stuff and quests. But yeah, I plan to do that. I'm a dilemma between either doing the Earth Temple or the Fire Temple, because the Fire Temple is located on top of the Edders, just north of Hamlet, and the Earth Temple is the abandoned monastery just 5 miles west of Hamlet in the Crown Hills. I'd like to do one of those first. All right, so we have a guest tonight. Now, a couple weeks ago, I did a video on running the Temple of Elemental Evil campaign with a different rule set. Now, a lot of Dungeon Masters on Three Orcs Discord and the Patreon, we run a lot of different rule sets. And, as you know, my articles are not rule specific, but the modules are, because the requirement to publish on Dungeon Masters Guild is it has to be in 5th edition. And so basically what I do is I take all the NPCs and I convert them to 5e stat blocks. And I do include some 5e rulings in there, like knowledge checks and stuff in the module. But I don't do that so much for the World Anvil website because I want to try to keep it rules neutral for any Dungeon Master to use. Because it's mostly narration, description, dialogue, flavor text, charts, NPCs, locations, organizations. It's just a big list. So yeah, Sarge, I guess you want he wants to fit the Gift of Beauty. So the Gift of Beauty locations, it's in the campaign. All the locations and NPCs for the great Gift of Beauty module from Living Greyhawk already exist in the campaign. So if you happen to have that module, you can easily run it. But you can't get that module because it's a Living Greyhawk module. They were only handed out to Dungeon Masters running those events at the convention between 2000 and 2008 in that Pacific state. And Verbobonc, I believe, was Illinois. So you had to be living and going to conventions in Illinois to even play in it. Or if you're a Dungeon Master running it, they would hand it to you. And WotC does own it, but the author still, it's his work. And WotC sort of paid them to do it, but not really. It's more like a trade, not cash, but still they own it. I can work around it, but if I were to specifically create a module for Gift of Beauty, I need the author's permission at least, and that's what I did get for Noble Ambitions. So the author, he's going to be on our show in a couple of weeks. Well, actually, this is October already. I think he's on next week. To talk to him. So yeah, it'd be awesome if we can get him on here and talk to him about it. Now, there's one thing to publish this stuff on World Anvil. Fan content, public website, anybody can use it for free. Bam. That's what you guys all expect. But if I was to publish something on DM's Guild, that's something completely different. That's a commercial product and IP's involved. So basically you have to have solid permission from the original author to be able to publish it or change it a lot, to where you don't need that. But obviously I need to use the name Gift of Beauty. So the thing about Gift of Beauty is that is canonical lore in Living Greyhawk, the actual journals and the source book. So he doesn't have the copyright of Gift of Beauty and the quest, but the specifics of the quest he does. So I could rewrite all that, but we'll see. We'll see. We talk about this stuff in the 3Rs Discord. This stuff we talk about, plus the articles I write for you guys' review and critique. All right, so we're going to go bring my guest on. He's been waiting patiently, so let me bring him on over here. Let's see what we got. Okay, so today we have Hearn. Hearn is a wonderful Dungeon Master. Has been a member of the 3Rs Discord and Patreon for quite a while now, and he gives very valuable feedback and reports of his ongoing campaign in this epic version of the sandbox campaign of the Temple of Elemental Evil. And he does something a little different. Now, like I was trying to continue what I was talking about earlier, a lot of the Dungeon Masters will run AD&D, basic D&D, Castles of Crusades, 5th edition, 3rd edition, and even Pathfinder. But nobody's, as far as I know, nobody's running Dungeon Crawl Classics, and he's the only Dungeon Master that is. And he requested I do a kind of a review on it, and I didn't do a review. I did a talk about using this rule system in this campaign, how it would be, and he's actually doing it. And I wanted to give him a chance to talk about it. So thank you, Hearn, for joining me on this Discord. I appreciate it very much. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Well, thank you, Hearn, and thank you for being patient.
No worries, no worries. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed your Patreon Discord. I've enjoyed your website. I have shamelessly used a number of your things for our campaign, which is still in the early stages. I decided to do the Temple of Elemental Evil, and I've got the Goodman Games 5th edition version of it. I also have the original books from back in the 80s when I started playing. And my current gaming group has one guy who played through the Moat House back in the 80s and a whole bunch of people who have only ever played 5th edition. So it's an interesting group of players to walk through this.
So they have a wealth of experience of this campaign setting.
Yeah, well, a little bit. So my old Grognard player, he's don't touch that. That's the holy symbol of Lolth. And the new guy who's only played 5th edition, who's Lolth? So it was very entertaining to watch them play. I've decided for my campaign, I'm setting it in 579 rather than 576.
Yeah.
And when they eventually get to the Moat House, they're going to find dead adventurer corpses everywhere. No one's gotten past the Moat House. So it should be fun for my old-time player.
That's good because, well, with this new project, this new source material, it's expanding what the original module was. So it's going to be new for anybody playing this campaign, really.
And I love some of the stuff you did talking about the logistics behind the temple. So right now my party is mostly 1st level. One of them has made 2nd level, and they're finding that bandits are raiding the roads around Etterbowick and Penwick and all those places up north, and they're raiding for food, and they have no idea why. So I'm slowly trying to draw them south to find out why all these bandits are stealing food.
So they were in Bowick, until your last session, correct?
Well, they went back. So the thing with DCC, everybody starts as a 0 level nobody.
We should talk about that first. I had just misgivings about doing that in this kind of campaign, but you did it, so I want to hear how you handled that.
So the nice thing about doing a 0 level adventure and doing it in DCC is in modern D&D, okay, you're 1st level, old man Willikers has rats in the basement, go kill rats. In DCC, balance is something they point and laugh at as they walk by it. So there was a published adventure called Into the Dark that came out recently. And I adapted it to be an introduction to my Temple of Elemental campaign. So they ended up finding a lost ruined dungeon under the ruined castle in Etterbowick. And the climactic encounter at the end was dealing with a Yochlal demon, handmaiden of Lolth, that had some partially broken free, and they had to re-trap it. And then they went on their merry way on their other adventures as 1st level characters. And many of their 0 level characters died in that encounter. And what they didn't do, being players and doing what players do, they left all sorts of unfinished plot hooks. So they accidentally released an insect swarm demon that when they passed through Etterbowick again, after coming south from Verbobonc, there was a series of mysterious murders, what was going on. So they had to go back to their 0 level dungeon and finish it, which was nice.
What's the 0 level dungeon is the dungeon they just released?
The Into the Dark, yes. It was a Kickstarter, and okay. It had an excellent premise that there were a cabal of wizards that were that had imprisoned a demon, and over the centuries it had broken free. So it's playing into my big story for my temple campaign. So Joseph Block had this great article about the elemental evil not being Tharizdun, but being Rentak, a Cthulhu-esque monster, which I'm totally riffing on. And
that's what I'm going with too.
Yes. And what I'm doing is Rentak is imprisoned, and various powers have stolen its eyes to gain quasi-divine power. So Ayuz is, a demigod level power because he stole one of Rentak's eyes. Lolth can be worshipped as a deity because she stole one of Rentak's eyes. And they're all competing with each other over the corpse of, the imprisoned and weakened body of Rentak deep beneath the Temple of Elemental Evil. So the 0-level dungeon was a cabal of Lolth worshipping cultists, demonic cultists. So it's the hook to get them involved in, like, why are people worshipping demons? Who are all these people? Why are all these cults in the area? And they're just getting into it.
I see. So you have quite a bit of lore going on with your characters from the get-go.
100%. One of the nice things about DCC is they have this whole section on patrons where arcane characters, like wizards, can draw on power from fell demon princes and what have you. So I'm totally leaning into that for the various cults of elemental evil.
One thing I noticed about the book is the table of contents is pretty far down, and it's not. There's no clickable links. I can't click
the more recent versions have clickable links.
Oh, 320.
They're on their 10th or 11th printing now, and they change the art every printing, and they do a little bit of upgrade or clean up the typos.
That's more than what Castles and Crusades has been doing. I'm so upset with them.
They literally, Goodman Games has like a website on their company page called Squash the Typo, and people can go in, this makes no sense. And early editions, like, they'd refer to an ego check to control an intelligent magic item, but they never defined it, so they squeezed it in the 4th or 5th printing. Here's what an ego check is, little things like that. No real rule revisions, though.
So I have a question. This guide, this rule book, is pretty specific to their game world, and so you went ahead and added a new Patreon, or are you using one of these?
Which one?
You said you're using Patreon powers. Which Patreon are you using?
Patrons. So the DCC has a core rulebook, and they've also published over time various campaign-specific worlds. So they've done a Lankmar campaign. They've done a Dying Earth campaign. They just put out Caverns of Thracia. It just came in the mail last week. I'm still going through it. And every time they put out, they did Dark Tower by Janelle Jaquace. And every time they put out a campaign, they put
I have that one.
It's a good one. And they'll say, okay, in this campaign world, these small things are tweaked. So they'll add patrons, or they'll add spells, or they'll describe how they handle magic. So Dying Earth is all Vancian magic with memorizing spells and different classes. So Greyhawk, being old school, pulpy sword and sorcery, can be done with DCC, but I had to riff heavily on their Lankmar campaign, which is lower, less crazy magic.
Oh, so you referenced Lankmar campaign to do this then?
Yeah, I stole some of it. I bought all the products. You get a free PDF when you buy the products. So I literally am copying and pasting into a player-specific Greyhawk handbook saying, here's what you can do. Here's how we'll do it. I've been running DCC for 8 years, and I've got a blog where I've published custom classes like a paladin class or a gnome class. And so I've drawn on that, and I'm slowly building a Greyhawk handout for my players. Wow.
I'm surprised nobody's done that yet, considering all those classic adventures they published.
Well, and some people have. There's a group of fans that put out the Gong Farmer's Almanac every year, and it's like 400 pages every year of fan content of, okay, here's 6 new classes that some players came up with. Here's some new monsters. Here's an adventure. Here's some custom rules. But I early on wanted to get that advanced Dungeons and Dragons feel. So, I created the half orc, the paladin, the ranger, and the gnome. I'm the half elf.
Okay. Yeah, you need to do that if you're gonna run this campaign for sure.
Yeah.
What's patron did you create for this campaign?
So patrons, I've only created 2 patrons so far. Lolth and Lolth and Ayuz. And they're for the bad guys, obviously.
Okay.
And Yinoku for the gnolls. With patrons, you don't need to do a lot. You need to create a invoke patron table. So if anyone has the invoke patron spell and they call on Ayuz, what do they get? Corruption. So if you have a cult wizard of Ayuz and a spell goes horribly wrong, what terrible thing does Ayuz do to them? And possibly some custom spells. Touch of pain, evil spittle for Ayuz. The kiss of Lolth that'll turn someone into a Drider for Lolth. That sort of thing. It doesn't have.
You have patron spells and you have spell burn.
Yeah. So each patron, if you look a little further down on Bobugbabills, there's a custom 1st, 2nd, and 3rd level spell.
I see.
And they don't in the core book. They don't develop all the patrons. Patrons are easy to do. And the nice thing with Greyhawk, there's all this lore, so you don't even have to make up the lore. You just make up the game mechanics to go with the lore. And like when I did Yinogu, it took me an hour.
Okay. Doesn't this mechanic change the balance of the campaign with the Temple of Elemental Evil and all the leaders?
Not really. So, so you have cultists, and they can call on invoke patron, which is like a cleric calling for divine aid, or casting a custom spell. So most of the invoke patron effects are like a custom spell for each patron. So in the core book, if you follow Yidgirl, the World Tree, you can call roots up from the ground or give yourself bark-like protection on your skin. So it's basically just one custom spell. It doesn't change the balance a lot. But it gives flavor to the game. So if you run into cultists of Yinogu, like a gnoll shaman, he's going to be able to go into berserk fury or summon ghoulish hyenas or what have you, which is flavorful.
So that means Zugmoy would have to be a patron. And
yes,
Iwis is, and Loth is. So in the temple, you got the cultists, and they think they're worshiping the elder elemental god, but in reality, their patron is Zugmoy.
So what I'm doing is Zugmoy, Lolth, and Ayuz each have one of the many eyes of Rentak. So they are worshiping Zugmoy, and they think they're worshiping Zugmoy, but Zugmoy is basically drawing on the Eldritch Cthulhuid battery of Rentak underneath the temple.
Okay.
Without the eye of Rentak, Zugmoy would just be a demon.
Yeah, speaking of which, in case somebody doesn't know, Joseph Block did write a module called the T5 module, which adds a 5th level to the dungeon.
Which is a great idea. And it ties, because the original adventure, it's the one that Gary Gygax wrote in 1st edition, it's a bit of a mess. Why are there Lolth worshippers and Zugmoy worshippers? This way, I'm taking Joseph Block's idea and saying, well, they're all competing for fragments of Rentak's power.
Okay. Yeah, I can see. That sounds to me like a lot of work, but I see it working. You seem to be the person to be able to do it because you have all that experience.
I got time, and it's going to take a while before my players get to that point.
You got time for sure.
Right now, I've dropped a couple links to Hamlet. I dropped in an NPC, and it's gone so horribly wrong. I dropped in Bing, who's the idiot brother-in-law of Jack the leather worker from Hamlet.
Okay.
And oh my God, my players love Bing so much. And he's the village idiot from Hamlet. So he doesn't remember where he lives. He's been describing, well, it's got this tavern with a lady on the tavern sign. And well, where is that? I don't remember. So they've been dragging him along as an NPC. And I swear to God, every time they gave him a lantern, they gave him a short sword, just follow us. And every time that Bing would roll to attack, he'd roll a natural 20. So they're all in awe of this village idiot. So I'm trying to slowly drag them towards Hamlet with Bing.
The luck of the idiot.
Well, you know how you end up with a campaign and you end up with one throwaway NPC and the players just glom onto it?
Yeah, that happened in my Dolmenwood campaign.
So they did this with Bing. So I'm using Bing as a slow burn to drag them to Hamlet, hopefully while they're all still second level or so.
Okay, so back to your campaign. I guess you started them off on that Kickstarter module at 0 level around Verbobonc.
Yes.
And then they were dealing with this insect demon, and they had to go back to really deal with them because they didn't deal with them the first time.
They let them loose is what they did. So they made it as far, they almost made it to Penwick, and then they got pulled back. Then they decided they got some money, so they decided they'd go to Verbobonc, the big city, and spend all their money. And then
I'm sorry, why did you send them to Penwick?
Well, I'm trying to drag them to Penwick. I'm trying to introduce the lore of the Battle of Emerity Meadows. Penwick was overrun by the elemental horde 10 years ago. And of course I've got 2 half-orcs in the party, so they're going to come into Penwick and immediately be hated by everybody in the village. Yeah, you people burned down our village 10 years ago. So they're going to have to deal with some prejudice.
Sure.
And I'm trying to have the bandits around Penwick and the Fens of Tor, and introduce the bandit head hideout is out by the Fens of Tor, and they're dealing with that road you have running up and down the Imridus Run.
You talking about the pirate?
Yeah, the river pirate,
Captain Tulip, and
yes,
also the slaver from the Wild Coast.
Yes,
slaver ship. So, yeah, that's a good way to introduce them to the pirates in the campaigns when they are in that area, in the swampy area, because they travel up and down that river all the time, and they trade with the lizardmen there for those rare mushrooms.
Exactly. And so I'm trying to drop lore of, yes, there was this horde of orcs and ogres, and they came through and were defeated at the Battle of Emerity Meadows, and one of the Circle of 8 died there, and all this lore to try to get them interested, and then get them hooked with the real problem of, bandits are stealing everyone's food.
That's perfect, because you don't want them to tip off what's really happening in Knoll quite yet early in the campaign.
No, not yet.
Yeah,
but I do want to get them down there with purpose. Like, okay, by the time they get to Null or Hamlet, we know there's at least one of the 4 cults operating in the area. They're getting the food from the bandits. How do we stop them? And then they're going to go into Hamlet with purpose.
Yeah, in the articles, I have wandering monster bandit encounter tables, and I have side quest for these bandit raids on the Merchant Road, and I also make sure that I detailed all the information those bandits know, so that way when the players interrogate them, you'll know exactly what you need to tell them.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, that's interesting that you went to Penwick to do all what you just said, because that's the reason for the module Noble Ambitions. I like to start my players off at Verbobonc City with Noble Ambitions, and that sends them through Penwick, to Osbury Manor, through the Fens of Tor, to the Ancient Sewell Ruins, the first dungeon. And by the time they're out of that dungeon, they're second level, and then they get back to be rewarded back at Penwick, and then they head down to Hamlet. And the reason I did all that is to engage the players in the campaign world, to get them to know the nobles and the political issues they're having with the gnomes and the humans and the gnarly forest, and also showcase the Battle of Emerity Meadows firsthand. That happened 7 years ago. So the reason I run that is for all the purposes you just stated.
So funny, somebody mentioned it on your Discord. So I ran some Living Greyhawk back in 3rd edition. And I played in it, and I ran a couple modules. I have all the Verbobonc modules from way back.
Cool.
So I have totally mined those for ideas.
Yeah, I went through every one of them, pulled out all the little tidbits of facts.
Yeah,
the facts. I didn't. Well, I just wanted to make sure I flussed out the world. Like Penwick is done, Verbobonc is done, Nib's Rest, Hamlet, Knoll. All these little towns and stuff, including down south, Sheernab, Ostwerk, just like Village of Knoll, just like the Village of Hamlet, they're fully flushed out and detailed with NPCs, organizations, NPC characters, and plots. and it's all related to the Temple of Elemental Evil activities and the current state of the political affairs in the area, what's happening with the rise of banditry.
So we're doing a hex crawl. So they're slowly mapping out the hexes, and I've stolen a lot of ideas from how Dottie at Mystic Arts does hex crawls, where you can they're 3 mile hexes, and you can see into adjacent hexes as you travel along. And so they've got a little bit mapped so far. And I'm totally using your Viscounty map. Love that map.
Well, the map I'm showing on screen is the League hexes, the Viscounty map.
Yeah.
But I also have more maps on here. I want to show you the
your League hexes, that's 3 miles. That's perfect.
So this map is, each hex is 1 mile. It's just the eastern Viscounty. So when I'm running the players around Penwick into the swamps and into this dungeon over here, if I put the DM layer, I have to open the DM layer so you can see everything. Where's the DM layer? There it is. There you go. There's the dungeon. So because there's a lot going on in this campaign, in this area of the campaign, if you're running up there. And so I realized I need another map that's 1 mile hexes, a lot more detail, because so much is going on.
Yeah, there is.
Also, I want to show you something while I have this open. Watch what happens when I click on the barony borders. Ta-da!
That's awesome.
So basically, I can't zoom out any farther. So these are the baronies, the lords. This is their lords' lands of the Viscounty. So when you're traveling around, you as the dungeon master are going to know what lands your players are in.
I've dropped a couple hints for some of the nobles and political, the living Greyhawk political things with the Langwares and all that. They haven't bitten on that so far yet, but I've got all that if I need to.
Well, what I do is I add like a wandering encounter. They'll encounter either noble or his men in some sort of activity, depending where they're at. So I like to throw in engaging encounters that bring the world to life. I don't like to read them at the table, pages and pages of history and lore to get them to know the campaign. I do it interactively with the scenes, and whenever they're going somewhere, I'll throw in little tidbits to bring the more of the world to life, to make them aware of what's really going on in the world. And
if they bite on it, that's great. Yeah, they know about the Iron Lady of Verbobonc, and that's about it so far.
Yeah, like the Iron Lady. Did you see the flavor text I wrote about how the peasants are acting?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. That's awesome.
But yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful by the time they finish second level. So advancing in DCC is slow. It's not like 5th edition where you're leveling up every 2-3 sessions. It takes we're on session 8 and one player has just hit second level. They're not going to hit the 3rd level until like session 40. It's going to take them quite some time.
Oh, where are they right now?
They are back in Verbobonc, but they're about to finally go east to Penwick. They've determined. I put a roadside inn halfway between Verbobonc and Penwick, and they spent some time there and dealt with some caravans that had been raided by the bandits for food. And then they ended up going back to Verbobonc, up to Verbobonc, back down to Verbobonc, and now they're going to head to Penwick.
Well, are they going to go along the Harvest Road?
Yes. Yeah.
So, by the way, this is Lord Melinius's land, House Melinius.
Yeah.
And he's like a pivotal main character in this campaign. He's behind a lot of things going on. He's trying to become the supreme marshal for the mounted borderers. And he's trying to steal or marry into Lady Osbury's lands to the south. And there's a lot of political things going on with that. And other modules. You have these modules. I'm sure you've seen the adventures that related to him.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure if my players will head in that direction, but if they do, I've got it.
Okay. Yeah, right now, actually, that one adventure where the knight is framed for something he didn't do on the border in a small town?
I vaguely remember that.
Well, I created this small little thorp for that reason. There's a mounted borderer station here, a little tiny tower, and a small little thorp, and they just make their living off harvesting the swamp. But the players have to pass through here anyway, just to cross the swamp to get to this dungeon. So that's why I added that there, mainly because of that module. And I thought it was a great location for the quest that they're on to stop before they get into the swamp and give them clues. That way they can ask the locals, what's going on and what to look out for or get help.
So I'm trying to introduce the Knights of the Heart. They've run into one member of the Knights of the Heart so far. And populated hexes. Have you seen their publications? Populated Hexes Monthly.
No.
Great it's a old school essentials supplement, and they put out basically a hex crawl hex every month, and they populate it with, here's the grave of a dead adventurer, and here's a small 5-room dungeon, and here's this, and here's that, and they have a lovely ready-made chapter house of knights that I'm going to use for the Knights of the Heart. And ultimately, I want Lareth to be a fallen Knight of the Heart. So, that they've got a little more buy-in to not liking Lareth.
Okay. Yeah, I get the Delver journal from Old School Essentials, Necrotic Gnome. I do get that. And I also subscribe to the Dolmenwood Kickstarter, and this should be delivered any day now to my house.
Yeah.
Even though
So
I haven't run it in over a year.
From all sorts of different sources. I'm using some of your poetic maps. I'm using some maps from Forge Studios, who did maps for Raging Swan Press.
I'm a subscriber for them, and I wrote them personally, and they responded that I was allowed to use everything they have. But after a while, I didn't feel it had enough value for this project, so I stopped using it.
Did you look at Forge Studios independent maps?
Actually, they've at the beginning of this year, they are doing better now. They're coming out with a lot of versions of the simple little dungeons and locations that they make, and it comes with artwork of what it looks like visually.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. So I'm using that for the various villages, so they can. You're walking into the town. This is what it looks like.
Yeah.
So they have a village with a lake in the middle that I'm using for Penwick, but I'm using all your locations and seeding them in that map.
What's funny is the windmill is mine. I asked them,
way.
Yeah, I said, you guys need a windmill, and they did it for me. So that's actually.
But I'm basically borrowing from different things. So I played the original Troika game, Temple of Elemental Evil. I've stolen some subplots and NPC names from that. I've got the Raging Swan Press items. I used their map for Langard to be my map for Verbobonc, and I've populated it with your locations and some of the locations from the Living Greyhawk days. And I'm taking ideas from a lot of the published DCC stuff as well.
Well, if you look at the screen right now, the image of the shrine on the right is from Forge Studios, I think. It might have been an art pack I bought. I did buy a bunch of art packs at one time about 5 years ago. Yeah,
I bought the town packs from them.
Yeah, I did too. I have a whole bunch of this stuff. I don't even use it anymore because the stuff I'm doing, I feel is more interesting.
I like the style of your maps, the way you've done them. I especially love your regional maps. Your regional maps are great.
Thank you. I've been playing that new Kingdom Come game, and I wish my maps could look like that. Detail. The border, like this right here. If you look at the river, see the border between the rock and the edge of the river.
Yeah.
The land mass. It's kind of vague. It's not detailed like it is in Kingdom Come, the video game. But nobody's doing that kind of work unless they're hand drawing it like an artist with a painting.
Yeah, and not everybody has time for that.
I put leaves and debris in the ground, but that's as much as I can do.
So I've got your Viscounty map that you did in World Builder, I think it was. What was the software you used to make your Viscounty?
I used Dungeon Draft and Wonder Draft.
Wonder Draft. So I've got that behind the screen, and I've got a double-sized 11 by 17 piece of paper with a hex map on it, and we're slowly drawing in the campaign world as they explore.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's cool. It sounds like your campaign's really coming together. They're having a lot of fun. They're really getting engaged in what's going on in the world.
They are, and it's fun to watch new players. So when I first started running DCC, I ran it at a local game store, and I had moved to this town. I didn't have a gaming group, and I offered to the local store to run, and I had people walking in, giving it a try, staying a couple sessions and leaving, and we eventually ended up with a core gaming group out of that. I had one guy walk in going, "I'm here to play," and of course I asked, well, "What version of D&D have you played?" None. No, I saw the sign. I'm bored on Thursdays. I'll come in. And by the second session, he was showing up to the session with like a hand-drawn note to send to the Lord, and he had stained it with tea and burnt the edges. Like he was a natural for gaming.
Wow. It's hard to find natural, sane people to join your game.
Sane people.
But I love that. My favorite players are just normal people.
Yeah.
One of my players.
Yeah, I've been gaming with one of my players in my group since the early 90s. And he's kind of fallen in. He's like, "Are you running a game without me? I want to come play." But most of the people are people we picked up at the local game store, and it's coalesced into quite the nice group. They're definitely interested in role playing. They definitely have some interesting dynamics, but it's really interesting watching the new 5th edition style players trying to interact with the grognard player.
Yeah, I can see that. I have a new group that wants to get together. They're all in their 30s, and they're like normal. They're not gamers, and they just heard about it and they want to have fun, and they liked how I present the game and make it seem engaging and real. The way you see how I write. I run the game that way, and that's gonna be fun. And that group's gonna get too big. Him and his wife, and another guy and his wife, another guy and his wife, and like, oh god, this is gonna end up being a picnic party, barbecue, beer drinking party. So
when I ran at the store, it was a drop-in, drop-out game. Some weeks I had 3 players. One week I had 11 players. I'm like, oh god.
Dang.
Now the nice thing, DCC's rule set is simple enough that I could manage 11 people, where combat doesn't turn into a 3-hour slog to fight a horde of orcs. It goes very quickly.
Well, you answered some questions already of the things I had a problem with in my interview, my video I did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So the problems I had was that patron magic system, and you answered that by doing a lot of your own work and taking similar style of magic and patrons from the Lankmar campaign to be able to change the existing characters in this campaign over to that system. Yeah. And to me, that's a lot of work, but you're able to do it because you've been doing it for so long and you have all this material. So that you answered that question. The other one is the 0 level thing. So the 0 level thing, I guess it's just a one-time thing, one session, and you went through a dungeon that's tailored for that, and then you got that behind you. So that was fine. You're able to launch the campaign from there.
And there are tricks to running so if you're running a group with 7 players and each one of them has 3 characters, so that's a pitchfork and torch mob of 21 people. Part of it is when you get into a combat on initiative, you run by player. Okay, Bob, you rolled a 17 for initiative. All your 3 characters go. Susan, okay, you're on 14. All 3 of your characters go. And characters in the 0 level fundle, they die like flies because they have one.
I've run a tournament for that before.
Right. I ran a couple sessions at GaryCon a couple years ago, but it's not a one-off thing. So if somebody in the party, their character dies, I'll let them come back in as a 0 or 1 or 2 0 level characters to kind of try to catch up with the party.
That's cool. Well, the way I'm looking at it then is this basically just a one thing that happens at the beginning of the campaign, and then the campaign kicks off with everybody at first level. Boom.
And characters get fairly durable as they advance. We ran our last DCC game, ran to 7th level when we completed it, and they were pretty impervious by that point.
So that's another problem you just reminded me of. So I don't know if you're using other books or lore material that I'm not aware of. I'm sure they probably do have this, but the limitations of the spell levels and the character levels are not suitable for this campaign because of all the highly powered, the Circle of 8, all the leaders, the Temple of Elemental Evil. They're more powerful than that.
No. So a level in DCC is 2 levels in 1st, 3rd, or 5th edition D&D.
Oh,
So if the a 7th level character is like a 14th level character.
oh, I didn't know that.
And spells go to 5th level. So a 1st level wizard gets 1st level spells. A 3rd level wizard gets 2nd level spells. Same kind of progression as 3rd edition.
Yeah.
But the 5th level spells are like 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th level spells. And when you cast them, so they're not automatic. If you say I cast magic missile, you have to roll a die, and you have to roll at least a 12 for a magic missile to succeed. And when a wizard rolls, you add your level to the roll. So as you level up, your spells become more reliable and more powerful. And if you roll a 12 to cast magic missile, this sad little dart that does 1 point of damage that some of the designers refer to as tragic missile, launch, and you do 1 point of damage. If you roll a 17 or 18, you launch 1d4 missiles that do 1d4 damage each. If you roll, by the time you're rolling 23, 24, 25, you're launching 20, 30, 40 points of damage. So
spells are definitely not the same as they are in AD&D.
No, they're themed. So there's a spell, Invisible Servant, and at low level castings, it works like Unseen Servant, which is a 1st level spell. At higher castings with higher levels, it's like summoning an invisible stalker to go kill your enemies.
Yeah, that is a lot more powerful. That's just Invisible Stalker is like a 5th or 6th level spell.
Exactly. So it behaves. It's got a range of effects from 1st to 5th level, depending how you roll. And right now, my party is 1st level. They might have a +1, +2 to their roll. Their spells only succeed 50% of the time, 60% of the time. And as they level up, they'll be able to cast more and more consistently.
So there's 5 5th level spells.
Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of other ones out there. So
I'm sure there's other books.
The core book has only so many. So the Lankmar box set has a whole ton. I posted in the chat a link to my blog. I've got a whole bunch I've written. I put in Dimension Door. They had Planar Shift. They didn't have Dimension Door. I'm okay. We need something a little less powerful. I just recently wrote Suggestion, because if I ever introduce devils into the game, they have Suggestion as natural ability in 3rd edition. So I want to have that as a potential possibility.
Yeah.
But they handle spells. It only goes 1st to 5th level, but the 5th level spells are Earthquake, Planar Shift, Polymorph, Replication, all the things, a Magic Jar, all the powerful things. So I expect by the time they get to the end, they're going to be 7th, 8th level. I'm going to stat up IUs. IUs is going to be 13th level, like beyond the ken of players. So he'll be like a 7th level cleric, 6th level wizard, or rogue, depending. And he'll have abilities that they won't have. And much like in the original T14, they have to deal with him for a little while, not forever, because they can't, until St. Cuthbert pulls him away.
Well, per the module, they're not really supposed to fight you at the end. He's supposed to be like a cameo where he appears and he starts yelling at people and really upset. And he raises the dead. Yeah. And then St. Cuthbert shows up.
Yeah, and then they say, let's take this off stage. Yes.
Yeah.
He
really should. Yeah. The only time anybody, in D&D, the levels are different. So by the time you get to the Q1 and face off with Loth, you're in AD&D, you're around 13th to 15th level, I guess.
Exactly. And you're still no match for a Demon Lord. So, the leveling is a little bit different. Characters get to be dramatic, but not 5th edition and 3rd edition. Once you get to a certain level, the game starts breaking.
Yeah, no.
Because you're invulnerable. So we were having players, they were 7th level. They were still going down to negative hit points and going down, and there was tension. Oh, God, are we going to survive? But when a 7th level character goes down, they start bleeding out for 7 rounds, so they've got time to save them. And they have a thing called rolling over the body, which is like, the Bill the Pony finds Aragorn at the bottom of a cliff. He miraculously survived, but now he's got to limp forever. So there's some things that make characters more survivable, but there are things less survivable. Like you can't just go down to the magic shop and buy a scroll of Raised Dead.
I did notice in the characters themselves that they do have a lot of hit points, a lot more than like old school essentials, of course, which is basic D&D.
Yeah.
Like, thieves should have 1d4. No, wizards have 1d4, and thieves have 1d6. But it's not like double in this game, right?
No. So you start as a 0 level with 1d4 hit points. Okay. And plus your Constitution modifier. And if you decide to be a first level thief, then you get 1d6 hit points plus your Constitution modifier. So you get that 1d4 hit point boost if you survive. That's the only difference.
Let's take a look. I remember looking at it, and I thought they had a lot of hit points.
Wizards get D4. Halflings and thieves get D6. Clerics get D8. Dwarves get D10 because it's race as class. And warriors or fighters get D12.
Action dice.
Oh yeah, you're looking at the action dice. So you know how in old D&D you'd get a second attack around. So they use action dice instead. So if you get to be a 5th level wizard, you roll a 20-sided die for your first attack and then a 14-sided die for your second attack.
When I first did my review, I thought those were their hit points for some reason.
No, God, no.
No,
it's in the description at the beginning of each class.
There it is right there, 1d8.
Yeah.
Yeah, the layout isn't the best compared to old school essentials, but
old school essentials is bullet points. This is blocks of text.
Yeah, Castle Crusades does the same thing. It's really hard to look up something. Like, obviously, you can see I'm struggling here.
Control F is your friend.
Yeah, I know. That's cool. No big deal. I'm not being too critical.
Yeah. By the end, like one of our players is playing a half orc with a Constitution of 6, so he has a -1 to all his hit die rolls. He's first level. He's got his peasant 0 level hit points and his first level cleric hit points. He has 3 hit points.
Wow.
So the party's like, don't let him anywhere near the enemy. He's frail.
How come they didn't put the hit points in this table here? That's so off.
So it's in the description at the beginning. It says, here's what a cleric is, and then it has just a little paragraph for hit dice. It's built a lot like the layout of 3rd edition was. It's all based originally on the 3rd edition OGL.
Okay.
Because Goodman was putting out adventures under 3rd edition, and then Wizards of the Coast decided to go to 4th edition, and Joseph Goodman decided to create a role-playing game based on the 3rd edition OGL, the standard reference document, that felt like original D&D.
Well, I want to be clear again, because I mentioned it a few times. I didn't want anybody to get the wrong idea of the video I did. It wasn't a review critiquing the game system. It was a review of the suitability of this kind of rule system to work with the kind of campaign that Temple of Elemental Evil is. And, the NPCs and the balance and the World of Greyhawk, the Circle of 8, that kind of campaign is. And I know this game is tailored to, this rule set, Pacific book rule set, is tailored for dungeon crawls. But obviously, they do have campaign worlds like Lankmar, which I'm sure is presented.
Which is all urban adventure and skullduggery. So I'm starting to stat out the cult leaders like Hendrak and what have you. And I'm literally taking from the original AD&D module and cutting their level in half. So they'll be 5th, 6th, 7th level, and the party will be 3rd, 4th, 5th level going up against them.
So what are you going to do about that 10th level assassin that goes after the players if they start bragging about killing Lareth?
Oh yeah, it's there. Well, I'm going to use what was the I'm going to use Smigmal for that, because Smigmal's an assassin, and 5th level assassin in DCC, and she'll come after them.
Okay. Isn't that assassin is supposed to be from divers? And if you read her lore, has a great network of assassins, which branches out to divers.
But I like what you wrote about.
There's more than just one character.
I'm just going to merge it with Smigmal because you have a great write-up on Smigmal as an assassin and able to disguise herself. So I might as well use her as she's in the area anyway, and work. And I've already name dropped Lucius a couple times, and I want to change certain things so my players are surprised. I've decided that Furnock of Ferd is actually Lucius in disguise.
Oh wow!
So I'm changing a little bit so they so they don't know what to expect.
Halflings are fighter thieves, you think?
So halflings are like
weapon fighting.
They're like bards, and the way it reads on the rules is totally different. So every character can burn luck points to alter a die roll. And luck is a 3d6 stat, but it never comes back. So it's like Call of Cthulhu. You can put off you can burn luck to put off the inevitable. Like if you're making a saving throw versus death, you can burn your luck and it's gone forever, but maybe you'll survive one terrible saving throw. Halflings and thieves get their luck back over time. And halflings have the ability to use their luck to boost other players' rolls. So if you have a halfling in the party, somebody can roll a 10, and the halfling can burn a point of luck to give someone a +2, or 2 points of luck to give someone a +4, and their luck comes back a point of luck per level per day.
Where's the armor section? Isn't there like a little area for to tell you all the armor they're allowed to use?
Yeah, it's under equipment, which is after the classes, and it works pretty much. I've got your live stream up. It's lagging a little bit.
Yeah.
Give me a sec. I'll see if I can.
It's always lagging.
That's okay. I'll see if I can tell you what page it's on. Give me a sec.
My intention wasn't to go through the minutia of the rules. It's just if this rule system was compatible with running the kind of campaign that the Temple of Elemental Evil is in the world of Greyhawk, which is this massive epic campaign world with the Circle of Eight and Iwis and Loth. You know what I mean?
100% it is. So it looks like page 34, if I'm reading that right.
Real quick though, Kevin Carolon, he said, in my game, all characters start at 3rd level, so they begin playing the set classes right off the bat. That's what he said. And Rock the Hobbit, thank you for joining. I like the idea of starting a campaign at level 0. It would enable the ability to build the backstory for characters.
And that's exactly it. It's going to take them a long time to level up, so I'm not rushing this. I'm not going to start the clock of the temple actively recruiting replacements until they encounter it, because I don't want it to get ahead of them, but I've got that in mind. The armor table is on page 72.
Okay. By the way, Don Sanders, we're talking about a video review I did a couple of weeks ago about using Dungeon Crawl Classics to run the Temple of Elemental Evil campaign and the problems you're going to face converting everything over to run that campaign. And we have an experienced Dungeon Master on our stream right now that's been doing it for years, and he's answering all of our questions how to do this.
I see Rock the Hobbit's comment. I don't like the idea of luck points. So luck points for not thieves or halflings, they don't come back. Like you would have to do something remarkable to gain the luck point. So it's a one-time. You rolled a natural 1 on a saving throw versus poison. It'll let you save your character, but now you're unlucky for the rest of your miserable life. Often when you run into an encounter, like you're ambushed by dire wolves, if they jump out of the woods, okay, which person in the party has the lowest luck? That's the person they jump on first. And thieves, when they burn luck, it basically it replaces a huge skill monkey system. They can burn luck to be good at something once or twice, and then they're burned out for the day because they can add their luck points to any roll they make. So they can backstab somebody, do extra damage, pick the lock, but now they're useless.
Well, 5th edition has that too.
Yeah.
So there's no limitations of what classes can wear armor?
No, but every class has an armor check penalty. So if you were wearing plate mail, you would have a -8 to sneaking, swimming, and casting arcane spells.
Got it. That makes sense.
And a -8 is terrible. The last DCC game we had somebody wearing an elf wearing studded leather, so he could cast spells, but he had a -2 from his studded leather, so he never was a great caster.
Okay, Kevin. Hope you. I mentioned you again, and I did. Thank you. um, I just want to reiterate that I'm not going. I'm not critiquing the system as a system. I'm just comparing it to
Sure.
being able to run it with this campaign.
So one of my players,
I don't care about the rule minutia. To tell you the truth,
Yeah.
this subject isn't about the rules minutia, the actual details of the rules.
Yeah, no, any rule system is basically like a director's lens. Like a Quentin Tarantino movie is different than a Ridley Scott movie, but you can still tell the same story. And I've played in all the different versions of D&D. I've played Pathfinder. I've played a little bit of Castles and Crusades at Gary Con. Every game system has its benefits and drawbacks.
It depends on that game. I believe, and I always state this, it depends on the campaign or the game you're running, and also the Dungeon Master.
Right, because the Dungeon Master will set the tone of what kind of game it is in any case.
Yeah, you have to have a Dungeon Master, a really good one, to run basic D&D. You can't.
Yeah, right. And so I'm looking forward to them slowly figuring out how Verbobonc works. One of your poetic maps of the Viscounty, they got their first big treasure haul of 20-30 gold pieces. They went to Verbobonc, and one of the players is like, well, I want to buy a map of Verbobonc. So I took one of your poetic maps and put it down, and they're like, where's Swan? Where are we compared to this? And so they're slowly figuring it out.
That's
and
awesome.
Of course they gave a share of gold to the village idiot Bing, and he immediately ran off and bought a pet pig and 10 pounds of expensive cheese.
So one of the critiques I had, I guess it's the last one, I don't remember all of them, but one of the critiques I had was play style. To me, so this doesn't really have anything to do with running DCC with this campaign.
Sure.
But so what I'm critiquing here is off subject, I guess. It's my DMing style. So the most important thing to me about Dungeons and Dragons, running a good game, is pace and timing. And I do not like lots of charts. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I like Castles or Crusades. Not once do I have to look at my Dungeon Master shield while running the game. That's how quick it is. It runs. It flows smoothly. It's fast, quick, and fun. Great pace and timing. Anything that slows that down ruins the game to me. And so there's a lot of charts you constantly have to reference. That's not acceptable to the way I run my game.
So DCC does have a lot of charts. On a scale of 1 to Roll Master, it's like a 6. But I have them all on my DM screen, and I almost never have to look inside my rules.
So that's what I did. Castle Crusades has an optional rule for critical effects when you do a crit. Some cool tables about what could happen to your head or your foot or your arm and stuff. And so what I did was I put them all up on one printout, and I taped it to my screen, taped it to my shield, so that way I can instantly look at it as a roll. And that's the only way I was able to pull that off.
And that's half the tables I need as a DM is the fumble table for a natural one and the crit tables, and each class has its own crit table. So I've got them taped, and the monsters have their own crit table. So I have all the crit tables taped to the right-hand side of my screen.
But it's worse than that. All the spells have their own tables too.
That's not so bad. So what ends up happening is the players have a printout of each of their spells.
They better.
And they have way less spells than D&D. Like a starting level wizard has 3 or 4 spells. That's it. By the time they get to 10th level, they have maybe 12 or 14 spells. It's not as crazy and out of hand at the end. And there's a website called Purple Sorcerer where you can put in the spell, hit print, and it prints out a PDF with all the results. And I call on my players, okay, you rolled a 16 for your spell. What's it do? And that keeps them engaged. And they're like, they read out the effect and they're excited. Oh, I got the giant missile that does magic missile that does 4d12 damage. So they don't know what's going to happen until they look it up. But they're responsible for looking at it.
The reason I'm sounding ignorant in some of these rules is because I ran that tournament over a year ago, and I've been running other game systems since then, and my memory isn't the best.
Well, and the problem is at cons, they always run 0 level funnels because that's all you have time for.
I know. I see that.
And you don't get to
see reports of it.
You don't have to get so when I ran at Gary Con 2 years ago, I ran the Fate of the Ruthless Wizard, which is a 0 level adventure where villagers with forks and torches and pitchforks go to take on the evil wizard in his tower because he's tyrannical and they've had enough. And I got tired of them only running 0 levels. So I went to Gary Con and I ran that adventure as a 0 level. And then I wrote an adventure that was 2nd level that they could play in the afternoon of the next day.
Yeah.
And they could play 2nd level versions of their characters who survived. And they got to cast spells.
Did you give away any prizes?
Mm-hmm. What's that?
Did you give away any rewards or prizes for that?
I did. So years ago, I went to Lake Geneva on a work trip, and I stopped by the game store there, and they had the bags of dice for sale. 10-pound bags of dice. So I literally here's your pilgrim's token, a dice from Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
Whoa!
And they thought it was great.
That is. I have an original I have all the original TSR dice from the 70s. I still have them.
I only have my pale blue D12, and I don't think it could even be rolled anymore. It's so worn smooth.
But I just remember what I do have. I have a set of Gary Con dice. I do.
I bought the black and gold D6s that they were selling with the Gary Con logo. I love those dice.
I know, they're cool. I have them in my bag. I use them all the time.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
But yeah, every game is depends on the game master and what the players do too. The players could be in for a political campaign, or it doesn't matter. They're going to goof around no matter what. It really depends. And you got to appeal to what your players like. I have one player, and these are relatively new players to me. I've only been gaming with them for 3 years. And I threw a puzzle at them. Ooh. And she just, puzzle. And she jumped on it and stopped the game. Okay, we got to solve this puzzle. So every once in a while, I'll throw in a puzzle to make her happy because she loves puzzles. But my previous game group, you're making us think. Don't make us think. We want to stab things.
That's great about dungeon crawl. I'm sorry. Old school essential dungeons. They have all those traditional elements in their dungeons, and I think they do a really good job.
They do. The incandescent grottos are.
I love that dungeon.
Love that. I used that for DCC. I put it in as a ruined gnome kingdom. And I used the red horn, the corrupted gnomes in there, and the living trees. It was a great adventure.
Well, I use incandescent grottos and the hole in the oak, and they are connected, by the way.
Yeah.
And I like to run a quick, short mini campaign to vet players because that's immediately immersive and engaging, fun Dungeons and Dragons. And so you're not wasting too much time getting to that activity, and it hooks them into the game. And then if I feel like they're the kind of players I'm looking for, then I might invite them into the great epic campaign for Temple of Elemental Evil. Right.
When I was running at the store, I was using Barrow Maze as my basis for a drop-in, drop-out game.
I played that before.
Yeah, because it's a dungeon just outside of town. Everyone go back to town at the end of the gaming session, and we'll see who shows up to play next week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a new DM running it. She didn't know what she was doing.
You know what? It's a bit challenging. And, of course, I was converting all the monsters to DCC. So if you go and look at my blog, a lot of the monsters are the Barrow Maze monsters.
Oh, I see. That's cool.
Yeah. But I'm enjoying taking Temple of Elemental Evil, and I'm deciding, okay, how are bugbears going to work in my game when they get into those? How are the gnolls going to work? How are they? Because I don't want them to just be bags of hit points. I want them to be interesting to interact with.
So, you realize there isn't too much bandit activity between Etterbook, Penwick, and the city of Verbobonc, except in noble ambitions. It's unless a noble is hiring muscle to conduct an activity, but just random bandits just preying on traffic along the merchant roads. It's more focused south of Etterbook.
Right. So do you remember in the Living Greyhawk adventures, they had the Ragged King, who was the head of the bandits?
No.
So they had the Ragged King, and they were preying east of Verbobonc. And so I've moved the Ragged King over towards the Fens of Tor. And that is the big bad guy for the bandits. And so far they've run into one cell of bandits, wiped them out, rescued Bing, and now every once in a while, a group of bandits is jumping them and revenge. Now they know they've got the attention of the Ragged King, but not so much that they're not just sending a patrol after them every once in a while. So they know they've offended somebody. They've heard the name the Ragged King. They haven't heard much else.
Well, there's some little details here that I don't know if you're aware of, or anybody watching might be aware of. But the reason why I stated that there isn't a lot of bandit activity north of Harvest Road or Verbobonc is a really good reason. It's closer to the city of Verbobonc, so it's more traveled, a lot more traffic, and a lot more patrols. But there's a better reason than that. If you look at the barony borders, this lands right here, north of Nib's Rest or north in Verbobonc, is the lands of Millennius. Very militant. They patrol heavily, and if you're caught, they'll hang you on that tree right where they catch you. He's very quick to do a what do you call it when you condemn somebody right away and then hang them right away? He does that, and he makes sure that his lands are pretty safe. But the land south of Penwick, south of Verbobonc, is House Osbury domain. And that's a poor holding. It's a poor house holding. They don't even have a smith in their town. They and they're looking for a smith. And she just went in Noble Ambitions, the module. She actually travels to the city of Verbobonc buying smithy tools to gear up her smith, and she's on the lookout to hire a smith to come to her and to not be a serf, but contract with her. I can't remember how you'd say that.
Yeah, and she ends up in the Living Greyhawk campaign being basically a patron to the party.
Yes, in that module. And if you want to do that, and that's what I do. But the thing is what I'm saying is she does not have the manpower or the forces or the patrols to patrol her lands to keep them safe. And so the activity of the bandits and the cultists are a lot higher down there. That's the main reason why. Also, so as you go farther south, you're in the Cron Hills. So the Cron Hills are very rugged, and it blends into the gnarly forest. So not only is this very rugged hills, but it's heavily carpeted with thick verdant forests. So it's kind of like a Robin Hood type thing where you can pretty much do something bad and get away with it by running away or having secret bases or outposts out there. And so the activity of these bandits and cultists are really high in the area because it's so easy for them. Anything around the Edders and south, it's easy prey on these merchants or taking their lives in their hands going along that merchant road.
And you're further and further away from Verbobonc and the protection of it. And you can basically scale your encounters. The further south you go, the harder they get.
Yeah, here's the big map. So what also Lareth, sorry, I'm zooming around. So Lareth of the Moat House, as you know, he doesn't want to draw attention to his base. So he orders his men to raid up and down the Long Road. The Long Road is the one road that travels from the city of Verbobonc all the way to the southern border to Celine, past Ostfirk. And it's the Long Road. It's the main artery of merchant trade throughout the Viscounty going north and south. Well, as soon as you get south of Nib's Rest here, all along here are the bandits are raiding. All along this long road south of Sheernab, all the way down to Ostfirk, they're raiding. And there's also a knoll fort right here. There's humanoid bands and giants here in the Lort Mill Mountains. And there's a giant hideout here in the mine from a module, Living Greyhawk stuff. And then you got Knoll, which is a hive and scum and villainy, and you got the Fens of Tor. So this area is prime so the traffic has been reduced greatly. A lot of people are moving away. The players will come across families with wagons moving away, giving up on the area, going someplace south, safe to the north. Merchants are heavily guarded, and there's less of them now. There's a shipment that's missing from the construction of the castle in Hamlet, and that's a whole nother quest to pursue. And not only is it Laris bandits are raiding up and down this long road, but there's this fire temple right here. They're not really raiding as much, so I wouldn't worry about them. They're conducting this activity on a certain date, so the players can pursue that if they want and go there and mess with them. This air temple right here, they got flying vultures. Occasionally they raid up and down the long road with their vultures, and that's really high-powered encounter. But this monastery right here, it's an abandoned monastery. The Earth Temple took it over, and they're conducting raids from that monastery, and they're the ones that took the Gift of Beauty. The Gift of Beauty is very pivotal to this campaign. It's the Selene, basically Voluna, Firandi, the Great Druid, and all the artisans of Verbobonc in the Gnarly Forest, the Druids. They create all these beautiful divine gifts, and they put it in this chest. And this chest is the chest of Ro. It's a divine imbued chest of great value and symbolism of the forces of good. And they want to send it to Selene, to Queen Yolanda, to hopefully as a diplomatic gesture to her to open the borders again. And so it's a big thing. It's a huge win for the Temple of Elemental Evil to stop that. They do not want Selene's borders open again, and then Selene elves working with the Viscounty again. They don't want that happening. They want to divide the gnomes and the humans and the elves apart. So that way, when the Second Rising happens again, they're not going to be organized and be able to resist when the Temple of Elemental Evil finally does rise and cause mayhem and havoc down here a couple of years before the Greyhawk Wars. And that's what EWIS wants. There you go. Was that good?
That was good. That was good.
I said it so many times over the last couple of months.
Yeah. No, you're developing great stuff, and I am totally ransacking your World Anvil blog and copying and pasting it into my World document as I slowly figure out what I want to use for my game. I'm probably not going to get as much into the politics. My players don't seem interested, but they could surprise me. Who knows? Right now they seem mostly interested in what's with all the demon cultists. That's not good. One of the things I put in was Langmuir's descendants from 200, 300 years ago were Lolth cultists. Oh. So I'm going to work that into it. So they're starting to realize, oh, wait a minute, the nobles in this kingdom aren't all good. So they're getting there.
Did you have Lady Langmuir run the players down yet on the road?
No. So I
had that.
So right now I had Lady Langmuir's husband being ineffective and deferring to her. She's been off in Verbobonc for she rarely comes to Etterboic, and now she's coming to Etterboic, and everyone's terrified, and they don't know what to expect.
She's trying to get her son married off. She wants her son to marry Lady Eleanor, actually, of Lands of Osbury. That'd be a huge win for their house. But Lord Melinius wants that too.
Yeah, I'm not sure my players will get into the politics. We'll see. Right now, I'm just trying to get them over to the Fens of Tor.
That's cool. Well, you going to use my Lizardman dungeon there?
I'm going to replace them with troglodytes, but yes, I am. So, and I love your map. Your art that shows it's mostly water, so you need a boat to get anywhere rather than just squelch along in the swamp. I got the Dungeons and Lasers Swamps of Doom set. I'm gonna have the boat painted up for our big miniature encounters, and I've got a friend with a 3D printer who's printing out giant leeches in advance of this.
You know what's great about this map? I created every object on there.
Did you?
Yeah, that was a lot of work.
And I love that you can zoom in into the details.
Wait a minute. I lied. Those lily pads, that's Tom Tartos. I think it's Tom Tartos.
What did you name the road that runs north-south along the Fens of Tor?
I didn't name it.
So I've named it the Robbers Road, and I'm putting a lot of the bandits raiding up and down that.
So many stuff here. Well, okay. Yeah, that road. Oops, sorry. Wait a minute, that's not a road. That's a border. What am I doing? Yeah, those borders are messing me up. That's why it's going all over the place.
I think there's a road running along the border.
Not on this map, there isn't. If you look at it. Oh, yeah, you're right. The dotted line. It's on the east side of the Fens of Tor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a minor trail. It's a minor road.
I called it the Robbers Road, and obviously that's how. And I've put a village up in the Fens of Tor, Land's End, and they're trading up and down the road there.
Okay. Well, technically, all the way to this, everything, Twilight Falls is on the border of the Viscounty of Verbobonc.
Yeah.
So this is all in Verbobonc, actually. This is their land.
Yeah, I haven't looked at a lot outside of Verbobonc, and the players, unless they start making noise that they're going to leave, but they are asking questions because a lot of them are very new to Greyhawk. There's like, what's this big? They managed to buy 2 maps.
Yeah.
One was a poetic map of Verbobonc, and one was a world map of the Flyness. And they're like, what's the near div? What's the city of Greyhawk? They have no idea.
Don't want them asking that question. I'll send them off the campaign area.
Yeah, well, and they have no idea of scale. They're like, how far is Greyhawk from here? Oh, it's like a week's travel, and I can't even get them to go to Penwick. I'm not worried about it yet.
I know. My players threw a fit when they had to go back to the city of Verbobonc.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they didn't want to go that far.
I threw down the map of Langard from Raging Swan Press, and I'm like, okay, there's Verbobonc, and they're like, oh my god, this is amazing. And they went around and promptly tried to buy some high quality swords and armor, and try to get supplies because you can't get that in Etterboic. It's a town of 300 people. So they've got their basic adventuring equipment now, and now they feel like first level characters. 0 level characters. So usually in a 0 level dungeon, you try to drop a couple hints, like a tattered spell book. So if somebody wants to become a wizard, there's explanation for how they became a wizard, or a holy symbol. They heard the holy calling. So our player that's playing a cleric of Foltus, he's been running around without a holy symbol. He finally got his silver holy symbol. So now he can turn unholy. And, so they're slowly getting to be real adventurers now after 8 sessions.
8 sessions. Wow. That's cool.
Most sessions they earn somewhere between 3 and 10 experience points. And you need 10 experience points to get to first level, 50 to get to second level, 110 to get to third level.
Well, when I'm running Castles and Crusades, which is basically a modern version of AD&D, it takes about 20 sessions or more just to get the third level.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, about 20 sessions. Because it's not just 20 sessions of dungeon.
Right. I find 5th edition people level up way too fast. Pathfinder too.
Yeah.
And they don't, and especially if you have players that are very engaged with the rules, not a problem. But if you have a casual player, they're not keeping up with their new class abilities every session. What do you mean I get 2 more things?
Yeah, they have the same problem with EverQuest and World of Warcraft, where if you could totally tell a player that started his character off at 60th level and never made it the hard way, gaining levels to 60, he didn't know his character, he wasn't very effective.
Yeah.
Goes, what are you doing? Just nuking them with the same spell over and over again. You get yourself killed. Yeah.
We had one fellow, he's an old time gamer in our group. He's like in his 60s, and he was playing an elf, and every single adventure, magic missile, and the players were like, you got other spells. You have other spells, right? Oh, I want a magic missile.
Actually, I think I did. I wrote an article that I did a video that there's spells more powerful than like a fireball. And, I did a whole analysis of that. I also did a one where I could use a first level spell to be more powerful than a third level spell. I could do it. It's a mixture between being creative with it and role playing, using a lot of different factors. I can make a first level spell be much more powerful than any third level spell.
It's all how you use it. Like back in the AD&D days, I got to play an illusionist, and I got the spell Silent Image. You can do so much with Silent Image.
Yeah.
And at one point, we were being attacked by bandits. I create a field of sheep, and the DM's like, "What?" And then I go to my hands and knees and crawl away. We're fighting an ogre. I gesture wildly above their head and form a 10-foot by 10-foot block of stone and drop it on them. Make a saving throw for disbelief. It's an ogre. He's knocked out. And the DM loved the creativity, so he let me do that sort of thing. If you use your spells creatively, that's the kind of magic I like.
Well, there's other ways to affect the game besides damage.
Right.
You can affect morale.
100%. Or you can
Morale is a
set
huge
up,
thing.
you can set the scene to make you more likely to intimidate the bad guy. You know, we have reinforcements on the way, or don't you know who I am? You know, that sort of thing.
I remember in the B2 module, this whole cavern full of bandits, and their players were totally outclassed and overwhelmed. But the way they role played, the way you look, what you're wearing, how you talk, what you say, the spell, how creatively you're using it, you can actually get them all just to lose morale and just surrender.
Right.
You know,
Right. Because you don't have your level tattooed on your forehead.
Yeah, they don't know what level you are. They don't know what class you are. They don't know nothing.
Exactly.
And I mean, there's certain spells that can make you look like an extremely high, powerful wizard, like a demon or something. And they have no idea you're just a first level wizard.
Yeah. But if you put on a good show.
Yeah, you put on a good show. That's it.
100%.
You know where I got these ideas from originally was the books by Glenn Cook called The Black Company.
Black Company. Great series. Yeah. And yeah, One Eye and Goblin are not great wizards, but they can pull off. Absolutely. That's one of my favorite book series.
You know, that's the style I wrote Nold with. That kind of style.
That kind of grim, dark,
militant jargon.
Did you read Glenn Cook's Empire series that he wrote before that?
I read a lot of his stuff. I get it mixed up with Lawrence Watt Evans. But yeah, I have. I've been reading for 40 years. At the beginning of when I was in school, I was reading a book a week.
Awesome. There are a bunch of great books for inspiration. Fred Saberhagen, Empire of the East is a great series. And actually, PCC did a source book for Empire of the East. And Glenn Cook. I'm trying to remember the name of the series he did. It was amazing.
I want to show you something cool. Right here. Glenn Cook, Black Company, right? You see that location? The Laughing Dog Inn?
Awesome.
You know what I did with it? I don't know if you read the location. But okay. The Inn family runs the place. It's a way station for merchants. As you can tell, it's 10 miles from Chernob and 10 miles from Ostburg. It's a natural stopover place for merchant wagon caravans because they usually only can travel 10 miles a day, and you don't want to do that out in the middle of the Cron Hills and gnarly forest. And so over time, they built this inn, which is basically a big hostel that's semi-fortified so they can stay for the night and be safe. Well, anyway, the bandits took it over, just like in that scene in the Black Company. So they took it over, but they kept the family employed. They're still doing their duties. But if you role play it right, the bandits are hanging out at the inn drinking and eating. And they're being very abusive, very vulgar, but they don't want to tip off anybody who they really are because they want to size the players up first before they do anything. You know, who are they, where are they from, who they work for, you know, stuff like that. Just like in Mold, the bad guys want to know this before they do anything. So basically, the players come in, and then they start noticing little. You can do your dice checks if you want, or pass notes. But certain character classes will notice certain things, like the way they hold their hands, their hand on their dagger, the way the girl has some bruises on her face or neck, and basically what you see is that the serving girls and the owner are extremely nervous, and they're shifty-eyed, and they keep glancing at the bad guys at the table. And you could tell she's been abused. And basically it gives off that these guys have been here for a while and they're watching that merchant road. And they're actually the scouts for the Laris Bandit group. And they mark the merchants coming through here. That's their job, is they mark the merchants and they wait for the merchants to leave. They don't take merchants here. They don't want to give away their disguise.
They don't want to give away their base.
So what they do is they mark them and they note them and then they follow them and they arrange the ambush later on along the road. And that's why they're here. So the players can discover this by role playing.
Sure, absolutely.
But anyway, I got that whole scene from the Black Company.
That there are some epic scenes in there, and the way they make the Taken so terrifying is excellent.
It's cool. I got pictures there, I think. Let's see. Let's take a look at the article. It's been a while since I wrote it. Okay, so there's the inn on the screen. Let me zoom in. Doop, 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 doop. And there's the innkeeper. And there's the menu. There they are, the bad guys. Adventure hook, a friendly warning or a trap, and the silent cry, the innkeeper's daughter. And there's the quest right there. The occupation, bandits behind the bar. And this describes all of them. I even named them all. See, and their stat blocks are on the right. And then tavern scene, flavor text with dialogue. Red flags. These are I listed all the red flags for the party, for the players. Also, I listed more for anybody with divine or arcane senses. The ambush opportunity. So there you go.
Very cool.
It's a perfect setup. It's the kind of stuff I'd make.
Well, you got to take inspiration from the books you read or the movies you see, to build those cinematic scenes that players will remember.
Yeah. It gets boring. You're just hitting them with rage on the road. You want more things happening in the world that the players can affect.
Well, and to start realizing why they're doing the raids and who's in charge, and give them an opportunity to hate the bad guys.
That's right. Make them really bad.
That's right.
They're really bad. I don't like them at all. They're mean.
You know what? If my players end up hating a bad guy, I've done my job. And eventually they get the chance to beat the bad guy, thwart them. That will make them so happy.
Oh, by the way, Rock the Hobbit, you asked what application do I use to create the maps. I use World, Dungeon Draft, and World Draft. Wonder Draft. I use Wonder Draft and Dungeon Draft. I only use Dungeon Draft for like buildings, dungeons, but I use Wonder Draft for everything else. So this is Wonder Draft right here. I used to do everything in Photoshop, but it took too long. It took forever. I have some old Photoshop maps here. I wonder if I can pull it up. But we're almost done for the night here. I don't see it. Sure knob is Wonder Draft, Ostwerk. Yeah, I don't see it here.
I really like your sepia maps. That sets the right tone for things I can show my players.
So when I make a map, I try to make a lot of versions of that map in different file sizes, depending on what you want to use it for. I don't know if you want to print it up or use it for VTT, what the limitations of your VTT app you're using. So I create a lot of different versions, including sepia and black and white sometimes. I try to remember to do it. If there's a map out there that I didn't do it for and you guys want it, just let me know and I'll pull it up and I'll generate that version. Okay, so Rock the Hobbit says, I'm badass and I'm cool and he likes me a lot. No, he said, Hearn, I can tell you're a very passionate DM.
I do what I can.
Yeah, you should recruit people on a Discord channel to invite them into your group.
Well, I do everything in person. I don't do virtual gaming. I tried that during the pandemic. I just couldn't.
I agree.
There's nothing that replaces the feeling of people laughing around a table.
Well, it looks like we're winding down everything we wanted to talk about. We covered everything. I didn't go into detail about the elf clans articles I created, but I'm going to do a separate video in a couple of days and put that up on the Three Orcs YouTube channel, like a separate solo video covering all that work. So,
well, I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thank you, Hearn. I really appreciate it. I know it's late for you, so I'm going to have to let you go. We've been on for an hour and a half now or more.
I don't mind. I don't mind at all. This has been great.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate you coming on this channel. I always enjoy you on here, and I like to listen to what you've done in your campaign. I look forward to more from you.
I'll keep you posted. Don't you worry.
Okay, well, thank you, Hearn. You have a good night, and let me go ahead and wrap up this video then.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining the Three Orcs Discord channel. This is we do a weekly live stream at 7 p.m. PST time every Sunday night, and to go over all the work we did on this campaign project in the previous week. And then I also like to mention what I'm planning to do next, and also answer questions about this campaign for anybody interested in getting into it or have some detailed questions they want answered. Then I can do a show and tell on screen here what we're talking about. You're welcome to join the Three Orcs Discord channel, join the conversation, or collaborate with all us other Dungeon Masters running this campaign. We'd love to have you. And also, if you want to join the Patreon for free, you can have access to all these maps and artwork for free too, which is the standard resolutions. But if you want to get the higher resolution versions of these maps, you'll have to be a member. Also, go ahead and like and subscribe down below on this YouTube channel so to keep it going here. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. And I'll get my videos out as soon as I can about what we're doing next. And if you have any requests, please let me know down below or come to the Discord channel. Thank you guys very much. And you have a good weekend and good night.